accustomed to being opposed by anyone. His way is to reassure himself that he is right by trampling on other people. If he does this with mediocre men, he will more certainly do it to one who presents a threat by claiming to be a man of high qualities. He will cling stubbornly to his own way. He may pretend to be interested in your talk about what is objectively right, but interiorly he will not hear you, and there will be no change whatever. You will get nowhere with this. Yen Huai then said, very well, instead of directly opposing him, I will maintain my own standards interiorly. But outwardly I will appear to yield. I will appeal to the authority of tradition, to the examples of the past. He who is interiorly uncompromising is the Son of Heaven, just as much as my ruler. I will not rely on any teaching of my own, and will consequently have no concern about whether I am approved or not. He will eventually be recognized as perfectly disinterested and sincere. They will all come to appreciate my candor, and thus I will be an instrument of heaven in their midst. In this way, yielding in obedience to the prince as other men do, bowing, kneeling, prostrating myself as a servant should, I shall be accepted without blame. That others will have confidence in me, and gradually they will make use of me, seeing that I desire only to make myself useful and to work for the good of all men. Thus I will be an instrument of God. Meanwhile, all I have to say will be expressed in terms of ancient tradition. I will be working with the sacred tradition of the ancient sages. Though what I say may be objectively a condemnation of the prince's conduct, it will not be I who say it, the tradition itself. In this way I will be perfectly honest, and yet not give offense. Thus I will be an instrument of tradition. Do you think I have the right approach? Certainly not, said Confucius. You have too many different plans of action. When you have not even got to know the prince and observed his character, at best you might get away with it and save your skin, but you will not change anything whatever. He might perhaps superficially conform to your words, but there will be no real change of heart. Yen Huai then said, well, that is the best I have to offer. Will you, master, tell me what you suggest? You must fast, said Confucius. Do you know what I mean by fasting? It is not easy, but easy ways do not come from God. Oh, said Yen Huai, I am used to fasting. At home we were poor. We went for months without wine or meat. That is fasting, is it not? Well, you can call it observing a fast if you like, said Confucius, but it is not the fasting of the heart. Tell me, said Yen Huai, what is fasting of the heart? Confucius replied, the goal of fasting is inner unity. This means hearing, but not with the ear, hearing, but not with the understanding, hearing with the spirit, with your whole being. The hearing that is only in the ears is one thing, the hearing of the understanding is another. But the hearing of the spirit is not limited to any one faculty, to the ear or to the mind. Hence it demands the emptiness of all the faculties, and when the faculties are empty, then the whole being listens. There is then a direct grasp of what is right there before you that can never be heard with the ear or understood with the mind. Fasting of the heart empties the faculties, frees you from limitation and from preoccupation. Fasting of the heart begets unity and freedom. I see, said Yen Huai. What was standing in my way was my own self-awareness. If I can begin this fasting of the heart, self-awareness will vanish. Then I will be free from limitation and preoccupation. Is that what you mean? Yes, said Confucius, that's it. If you can do this, you will be able to go among men in the world without upsetting them. You will not enter into conflict with their ideal image of themselves. They will listen, singing in the song, if not keep silent. Do not try to break down their door. Don't try out new medicines on them. Just be there among them, because there is nothing else for you to be but one of them. Then you may have success. It is easy to stand still and leave no trace, but it is hard to walk without touching the ground. If you follow human methods, you can get away with deception. In the way of Tao, no deception is possible. You know that one can fly with wings. You have not yet learned about flying without wings. You are familiar with the wisdom of those who know, but you have not yet learned the wisdom of those who know not. Look at this window. It is nothing but a hole in a wall, but because of it, the whole room is full of of light. So when the faculties are empty, the heart is full of light. Being full of light, it becomes an influence by which others are secretly transformed.
eBay online shopping and selling. Yeah.
Are secretly transformed. There were three friends discussing life. One said, "Can men live together and know nothing of it? Work together and produce nothing? Can they fly around in space and forget to exist, world without end?" The three friends looked at each other and burst out laughing. They had no explanation.
On guard! Prepare to defend yourself!
Then one friend died. Confucius sent a disciple to help the other two chant his obsequies. The disciple found that one friend had composed a song while the other played a tune. They sang, "Hey, Sung-Hu, where'd you go? Hey, Sung-Hu, where'd you go? You've gone where you really were. And we are here, damn it, we are here." Then the disciple of Confucius burst in on them and exclaimed, "May I inquire where you found this in the rubrics for obsequies?" This frivolous caroling in the presence of the departed, the two friends looked at each other and laughed. "Poor fellow," they said, "he doesn't know the new liturgy." Laozi's wake. Lao Tan lay dead. Shin Shi attended the wake. He let out 3 yells and went home. One of the disciples said, "Were you not the master's friend's servant?" He replied, "It is then sufficient for you to mourn no better than you have just done. In the beginning, Shin Shi, I thought he was the greatest of men no longer. When I came to mourn, I found old men lamenting him as their son, young men sobbing as though for their mother. How did he bind them to himself so tight, if not by words he should never have said, and tears he should never have wept? He weakened his true being. He laid on load upon load. Load of emotion increased the enormous reckoning. He forgot the gift God had entrusted to him. This the ancients called punishment for neglecting the true self. The master came at his right time into the world. When his time was up, he left it again. He who awaits his time, who submits when his work is done. In this life there is no room for sorrow or for rejoicing. Here is how the ancients said all this in 4 words. God cuts the thread. We have seen a fire of sticks burn out. Fire now burns in some other place where, who knows, his brands are burnt out. Confucius and the Madman. When Confucius was visiting the state of Chu, along came Kyayu, the madman of Chu, and sang outside the master's door, "O Phoenix, Phoenix, where's your virtue gone? It cannot reach the future or bring the past again. When the world makes sense, the wise have work to do. They can only hide when the world's askew. Today, if you can stay alive, luckier you try to survive. Joy's feather-light, but who can carry it? Sorrow falls like a landslide, who can bury it? Never, never teach virtue more. You walk in danger, beware, beware. Even ferns can cut your feet. When I walk crazy, I walk right. But am I a man to imitate? The tree in the mountain height is its own enemy. The grease that feeds the light devours itself. The cinnamon tree is edible, so cut it down. But like a tree is profitable, they maim it. Every man knows how useful it is to be useful. No one seems to know how useful it is to be useless. Alright, this is philosophyvideos.com. We'll end it there on page 60. The Way of Chuang-Tzu by Thomas Merton. The next chapter will be The True Man. The true man. What is meant by a true man? The true men of old were not afraid. When they stood alone in their views, no great exploits, no plans. If they failed, no sorrow, no self-congratulation and success. They scaled cliffs, never dizzy, plunged in water, never wet, walked through fire and were not burnt. Thus, their knowledge reached all the way to Tao. The The true men of old slept without dreams, woke without worries, their food was plain. They breathed deep. True men breathe from their heels, others breathe with their gullets, half strangled. In dispute they heave up arguments like vomit. Where the fountains of passion lie deep, the heavenly springs are soon dry. The true men of old knew no lust for life, no dread of death. Their entrance was without gladness, their exit yonder, without resistance, easy come, easy go. They did not forget where from, nor ask where to, nor drive grimly forward, fighting their way through life. They took life as it came gladly, took death as it came without care, and went away yonder, yonder. They had no mind to fight Tao. They did not try by their own contriving to help Tao along. These are all the ones we call true men. Minds free, thoughts gone, brows clear, faces serene. Were they cool? Only cool as autumn. They were hot, no hotter than spring. All that came out of them came quiet like the four seasons. Metamorphosis. Four men got in a discussion. Each one said, who knows how to have the void for his head, to have life as his backbone and death as his tail. He shall be my friend. At this they all looked at one another, saw they agreed, burst out laughing and became friends. And one of them fell ill, and another went to see him. Great is the Maker, said the sick one, who has made me as I am. I am so doubled up, my guts are over my head. Upon my navel I rest my cheek. My shoulders stand out beyond my neck. My crown is an ulcer surveying the sky. My body is chaos, but my mind is in order. He dragged himself to the wall, saw his reflection, and declared what a mess he has made of me. His friend asked, are you discouraged? Not at all. Why should I be? If he takes me apart and makes a rooster of my left shoulder, I shall announce the dawn. If he makes a crossbow of my right shoulder, I shall procure roast duck. If my buttocks turn into wheels, and if my spirit is a horse, I will hitch myself up and ride around in my own wagon. There is a time for putting together and another time for taking apart. He who understands this course of events takes each new state in its proper time. With neither sorrow nor joy, the ancients said the hanged man cannot cut himself down, but in due time nature is stronger than all his ropes and bonds. It was always so. Where is there a reason to be discouraged? Man is born in Tao, fishes are born in water. Man is born in Tao. If fishes born in water seek the deep shadow of pond and pool, all their needs are satisfied. If man born in Tao sinks into the deep shadow of non-action, to forget aggression and concern, he lacks nothing, his life is secure. Moral, all the fish needs is to get lost in water. All man needs is to get lost in Tao. Two kings and no form, the South Sea King was act on your hunch. The North Sea King was act in a flash. The king of the place between them was no form. How South Sea King and North Sea King used to go together often to the land of no form. He treated them well. So they consulted together. They thought of a good turn, a pleasant surprise for no form, in token of appreciation. Men, they said, have 7 openings for seeing, hearing, eating, breathing, and so on, but no form has no openings. Let's make him a few holes. So after that they put holes in no form, one a day for 7 days, and when they finished the 7th opening, their friend lay dead. Lao Tan said to organize is to destroy. Cracking the safe. For security against robbers who snatch purses, rifle luggage, and crack safes, one must fasten all property with ropes, lock it up with locks, bolt it with bolts. This for property owners is elementary good sense. But when a strong thief comes along, he picks up the whole lot, puts it on his back, and goes on his way with only one fear, that ropes, locks, and bolts may give way. Thus, when the world calls good business, is only a way to gather up the loot and pack it, make it secure in one convenient load for the more enterprising thieves. Who is there among those called smart, who does not spend his time amassing loot for a bigger robber than himself? In the land of Ki, There were temples for ancestors, altars for field gods, and corn spirits. Every canton, county, district was run according to the laws and statutes. So one morning the Attorney General, Tien came to wave the king into over the whole state. Was he content to stay the land? No. He also took over the laws and statutes at the same time, and all the lawyers with them, not to mention the police. They all formed part of the same package. Of course, people called him king, soon a robber, but they left him alone to live as happy as the patriarchs. No small state would say a word against him. No large state would make a move in his direction. So for 12 generations, the state of Key belonged to his family. No one interfered with his inalienable rights. The invention of weights and measures makes robbery easier. Signing contracts, setting seals makes robbery more sure. Teaching love and duty provides a fitting language with which to prove that robbery is really for the general good. The poor man must swing for stealing a belt buckle, but if a rich man steals a whole state, he is claimed as statesman of the year. Hence, if you want to hear the very best speeches on love, duty, justice, etc., listen to statesmen. But when the creek dries up, nothing grows in the valley. When the mound is leveled, the hollow next to it is filled. And when the statesmen and the lawyers and the preachers of duty disappear, there are no more robberies either, and the world is at peace. Moral: the more you pile up ethical principles and duties and obligations to bring everyone in line, the more you gather loot. For a thief like King, by ethical argument and moral principle, the greatest crimes are eventually shown to have been necessary and, in fact, a signal benefit to mankind. Leaving things alone. I know alone the world alone I can't feel love of music and you play wisdom leads to wise contriving. Love of knowledge leads to finding men. Let go of it. They surround its memory with ritual worship. They fall on their knees to talk about it, play music and sing, fast and discipline themselves in honor of the 8 delights. When the delights become a religion, how can you control them? The wise man then, when he must govern, knows how to do nothing, letting things alone, though he rests in his original nature. He who will govern will respect the governed no more than he respects himself. If he models his own person enough to let it rest into original truth, he will govern others without limiting them. guts from going into action. Let him keep still, not looking, not hearing. Let him sit like a corpse. The dragon power alive all around him. In complete silence, his voice will be like thunder. His movements will be invisible like those of a spirit. The powers of heaven will go with them. Unconcerned, doing nothing, he will see all things grow right around him. Where will he find time to govern? King, my master said, that who checks on all and meddles in none is heaven. The kingly man realizes this, hides it in his heart, grows boundless, wide-minded, draws all to himself, and so he lets the gold lie hidden in the mountain, leaves the pearl lying in the deep, lives in possession and the gain in his eyes, stays far from wealth and honor. One life is not bound for joy, nor only death for sorrow. Success is not for him to be proud of, failure is no shame. Had he all the world's power, he would not hold it as his own. He conquered everything, he would not take it to himself. His glory is in knowing that all things come together in one, and life and death are equal. How deep is Tao? My master said, Tao, how deep, how still its hiding place. Tao, how pure. Without this stillness, metal would not ring. Stone, when struck, would give no answer. The power of sound is in the metal, and Tao in all things. When they clash, they ring with Tao, and are silent again. Who is there now to tell all things in their places? The king of life goes his way free, inactive, unknown. He would blush to be in business. He keeps his deep roots down in the origin, down in spring. His knowledge is enfolded in spirit, and he grows great, opens a great heart, a world's refuge. Without forethought, he comes out in majesty. Without plan, he goes his way, and all things follow him. This is the kingly man who rides above life. This one sees in the dark, hears where there is no sound. In the deep dark, he alone sees light. In soundlessness, he alone perceives music. He can go down into the lowest of low places and find people. He can stand in the highest of high places and see meaning. He is in contact with all beings. That which is not goes his way. That which moves is what he stands on. Great is small for him, long is short for him, and all his distances are near. The lost pearl, the yellow emperor, went wandering to the north of the red water, to the Kwanlun mountain. He looked around over the edge of the world. On the way home, he lost his night-colored pearl. He sent out science to seek his pearl and got nothing. He sent analysis to look for his pearl and got nothing. He sent out logic to seek his pearl and got nothing. Then he asked nothingness, and nothingness had it. The yellow emperor said, strange indeed, nothingness, who was not sent, who did not work to find it, had the night-colored pearl. In my end is my beginning. In the beginning of beginnings was void of void, the nameless. And in the nameless was the one. Without body, without form, this one. This being in whom all find power to exist is the living. From the living comes the formless, the undivided. From the act of this formless come the existence, each according to its inner principle. This is form, here body embraces and cherishes spirit. The two work together as one, blending and manifesting their characters, and this is nature. But he who obeys nature returns through form and formless to the living, and in the living joins the unbegun beginning. The joining is sameness, the sameness is void, the void is infinite. The bird opens its beak and sings its note, and then the beak becomes together again in silence, so nature and the living meet together in void, like the closing of the bird's beak after its song. Heaven and earth come together in the unbegun. And all is foolishness, all is unknown, all is like the lights of an idiot, all is without mind. To obey is to close the beak and fall into unbeginning. When life was full, there was no history. In the age when life on earth was full, no one paid any special attention to worthy men, nor did they single out the man of ability. Rulers were simply the highest branches on the tree, and the people were like deer in the woods. They were honest and righteous without realizing that they were doing their duty. They loved each other and did not know that this was love of neighbor. They deceived no one, yet they did not know that they were meant to be trusted. They were reliable and did not know that this was good faith. They lived freely together, giving and taking, and did not know that they were generous. For this reason, their deeds have not been narrated in the history. When a hideous man becomes a father, and the son is born to him in the middle of the night, he trembles and lights a lamp and runs to look in anguish on that child's face to see whom he resembles. The 5 enemies. With wood from a 100-year-old tree, they make sacrificial vessels. Covered with green and yellow designs, the wood that was cut away lies unused in the ditch. If we compare the sacrificial vessel with the wood in the ditch, we find them to differ in appearance. One is more beautiful than the other, yet they are equal in this. Both have lost their original nature. So if you compare the robber and the respectable citizen, you find that one is indeed more respectable than the other. Yet they agree in this, they have both
Kitover
lost
band. Go to
the
Chicago,
original simplicity
Manafort.com
of
to
man.
liberate Chicago.
How
1
did they lose
homeowner
it?
at a
There are
time,
the
1
5 ways.
signature at a time.
Love
We
of
need your
colors
signatures on our
bewilders
petitions
the
today.
eye,
We're about
and
to
it
launch
fails
our
to see
campaign.
right.
Thomas Jefferson Memorial
Love
here in
of
Chicago.
harmonies
Jefferson Park.
bewitches the ear, and
Hope
it
you
loses
enjoyed
its
this
true hearing.
little philosophy
Love
by
of
Shawanta
perfumes
or
fills
Lao
the
Tzu,
head with
the wisdom of
dizziness.
the Tao.
Love of flavors ruins the taste. Desires unsettle the heart until the original nature runs amok. These 5 are enemies of true life, yet these are what man of discernment claim to live for. They are not what I live for. If this is life, then pigeons in a cage have found happiness. Action and non-action. The non-action of the wise man is not inaction. It is not studied. It is not shaken by anything. The sage is quiet because he is not moved, not because he wills to be quiet. Still water is like glass. You can look in it and see the bristles on your chin. It is a perfect level. A carpenter could use it. If water is so clear, so level, how much more the spirit of man? The heart of the wise man is tranquil. It is the mirror of heaven and the glass of everything. Emptiness, stillness, tranquility, tastelessness, silence, non-action. This is the level of heaven and earth. This is perfect Tao. Wise men find here the resting place resting. They are empty. From emptiness comes the unconditioned. From this, the conditioned. The individual thing. So from the sage's emptiness, stillness arises. From stillness, action. From action, attainment. From their stillness comes their non-action, which is also action, and is therefore their attainment. For stillness is joy. Joy is free from care, fruitful in long years. Joy does all things without concern. For emptiness, stillness, tranquility, tastelessness, silence, and non-action are the root of all things. and the wheelwright. The world values books and thinks that it is in so doing it is valuing Tao. But books contain words only, and yet there is something else which gives value to the books, not the words only, nor the thought in the words, but something else within the thought, swinging it in a certain direction. Words cannot comprehend, but it is the words themselves that the world values when it commits them to books, and though the world values them, these words are worthless as long as that which gives them value is not held known. Sound do not reach to reality. That is why he who knows does not say, he who says does not know. How then is the world going to know Tao through words? Duke Huan of Kai, first in his dynasty, sat under his canopy reading his philosophy, and Fian the wheelwright was out in the yard making a wheel. Fian laid aside hammer and chisel, climbed the steps, and said to Duke Huan, "May I ask you, Lord, what is this you are reading?" The Duke said, "The experts, the authorities." And Fian asked, "Alive or dead?" "Dead a long time." "Then," said the wheelwright, "you are reading only the dirt they left behind." Then the Duke replied, "What do you know about it? You are only a wheelwright. You'd better give me a good explanation, or else you must die." Wheelwright said, "Let us look at the affair from my point of view. When I make wheels, if I go easy, they fall apart. If I am too rough, they don't fit. If I am neither too easy nor too violent, they come out right. The work is what I want it to be. You cannot put this into words. You just have to know how it is. I cannot even tell my own son exactly how it is done. And my own son cannot learn it from me. So here I am, 70 years old, still making wheels. The men of old took all they really knew with them to the grave. And so, Lord, what you are reading there is only the dirt they left behind them." We're going to end it there, page 84. The Way of Chuang-Tzu by Thomas Merton. Thanks for coming to philosophyvideos.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Tumblr. Again, this is philosophyvideos.com.
Never had one lesson.
Autumn floods. The autumn floods had come. Thousands of wild torrents poured furiously into the Yellow River. It surged and flooded its banks until, looking across, you could not tell an ox from a horse on the other side. Then the river god laughed, delighted to think that all the beauty of the world had fallen into his keeping. So downstream he swung until he came to the ocean. There he looked out over the waves toward the empty horizon in the east, and his face fell. Gazing out at the far horizon, he came to his senses and murmured to the ocean god, "Well, the proverb is right. He who has got himself 100 ideas thinks he knows more than anybody else. Such a one am I. Only now do I see what they mean by expanse." The ocean god replied, "Can you talk about the sea to a frog in a well? Can you talk about the ice to dragonflies? Can you talk about the way of life to a doctor of philosophy? Of all the waters in the world, the ocean is greatest. All the rivers flow into it day and night. It is never filled, it gives back its water day and night. It is never emptied, in dry seasons it is not lowered. In flood time it does not rise. Greater than all other waters, there is no measure to tell how much greater. But am I proud of it? What am I under heaven? What am I without yang and yin? Compared with the sky, I am a little rock, a scrub oak on the mountainside. Shall I act as if I was something? Of all the beings that exist, and there are millions, man is only one. Among all the millions of men that live on earth, the civilized people that live by farming are only a small proportion. Smaller still the number of those who, having office or fortune, travel by carriage or by boat. And of all these, one man in his carriage is nothing more than the tip
Liberty!
of his flank. Why then
Equality!
all men in great offices?
Logic!
Why all the disputations of scholars? Why all the ring of politicians? There are no fixed limits. Time does not stand still. Nothing endures. Nothing is final. You cannot lay hold of the end or the beginning. He who is wise sees near and far, is the same, does not despise the small or value the great. Where all standards differ, how can you compare? With one glance he takes in past and present, without sorrow for the past or impatience with the present. All is in movement. He has experience of fullness and emptiness. He does not rejoice in success or lament in failure. The game is never over. Birth and death are even. The terms are not final. Great and small. When we look at things in the light of Tao, nothing is best, nothing is worst. Each thing seen in its own light stands out in its own way. It can seem to be better than what is compared with it on its own terms, but seen in terms of the whole, no one thing stands out as better. If you measure differences, what is greater than something else is great. Therefore there is nothing that is not great. What is smaller than something else is small. Therefore there is nothing that is not small, so the whole cosmos is a grain of rice. The tip of a hair is as big as a mountain. Such is the relative view. You can break down walls with battering rams, but you cannot stop holes with them. All things have different uses. Fine horses can travel 100 miles a day, but they cannot catch mice like terriers or weasels. All creatures have gifts of their own. The white-horned owl can catch fleas at midnight and distinguish the tip of a hair. But in bright day it stares helpless, cannot even see a mountain. All things have varying capacities. Consequently, he who wants to have right without wrong, order without disorder, does not understand the principles of heaven and earth. He does not know how things hang together. Can a man cling only to heaven and know nothing of earth? They are correlative. To know one is to know the other. To refuse one is to refuse both. Can a man cling to the positive without any negative, in contrast to which it is seen to be positive? If he claims to do so, he is a rogue or a madman. Thrones pass from dynasty to dynasty. Now in this way, now in that, he who forces his way to power against the grain is called tyrant and usurper. He who moves with the stream of events is called a wise statesman. Quai, the one-legged dragon, is jealous of the centipede is jealous of the snake is jealous of the wind is jealous of the eye is jealous of the mind. Quai said to the centipede, I manage my one leg with difficulty. How can you manage 100? The centipede replied, I do not manage them. They land all over the place, like drops of spit. The centipede said to the snake, with all my feet, I cannot move as fast as you do with no feet at all. How is this done? The snake replied, I have a natural glide that can't be changed. What do I need with feet? The snake spoke to the wind. I ripple my backbone and move along in a bodily way. You without bones, without muscles, without method, blow from the North Sea to the Southern Ocean. How do you get there with nothing? The wind replied, True, I rise up in the North Sea and take myself without obstacle to the Southern Ocean. But every eye that remarks me, every wing that uses me is superior to me, even though I can uproot the biggest trees or overturn big buildings. The true conqueror is he who is not conquered by the multitude of the small. The mind is this conqueror, but only the mind of the wise man, the man of Tao, the man in whom Tao acts. Without impediment harms no other being by his actions, yet he does not know himself to be kind and to be gentle. The man in whom Tao acts without impediment does not bother with his own interests and does not despise others who do. He does not struggle to make money and does not make a virtue of poverty. He goes his way without relying on others and does not pride himself on walking alone. While he does not follow the crowd, he won't complain of those who do. Rank and reward make no appeal to him. Disgrace and shame do not deter him. He is not always looking for right and wrong, always deciding yes or no. The ancients said therefore, the man of Tao remains unknown. Perfect virtue produces nothing. No self is true self. The greatest man is nobody. The turtle, Shuangzi, with his bamboo pole, was fishing in Pu River. The Prince of Chu sent to vice-chancellors with a formal document, we hereby appoint you Prime Minister. Shuangzi held his bamboo pole, stood watching Pu River. He said, I am told there is a sacred tortoise, offered and canonized 3,000 years ago, venerated by the prince wrapped in silk, in a precious shrine on an altar in the temple. What do you think? Is it better to give up one's life and leave a sacred shell as an object of cult in a cloud of incense 3,000 years? Better to live as a pink turtle dragging its tail in the mud. For the turtle, said the vice-chancellor, better to live and drag its tail in the mud. Go home, said Shuangzi, leave me here to drag my tail in the mud. white Zulu crossing How River by the dam. Sean said, "See how free the fishes leap and dart. That is their happiness." I replied, "Since you are not a fish, how do you know what makes fishes happy?" Sean said, "Since you are not I, how can you possibly know that I do not know what makes fishes happy?" I argued, "If I, not being you, cannot know what you know, it follows that you, not being a fish, cannot know what they know." Chuang said, "Wait a minute, let us get back to the original question. What you asked me was, how do you know what makes fishes happy? From the terms of your question, you evidently know I know what makes fishes happy. I know the joy of fishes in the river through my own joy as I go walking along the same river. Perfect joy. Is there to be found on earth a fullness of joy, or is there no such thing? Is there some way to make life fully worth living, or is this impossible? If there is such a way, how do you go about finding it? What should you try to do? What should you seek to avoid? What should be the goal in which your activity comes to rest? What should you accept? What should you refuse to accept? What should you love? What should you hate? The world values is money, reputation, long life, achievement. What it counts as joy is health and comfort of body, good food, fine clothes, beautiful things to look at, pleasant music to listen to. What it condemns is lack of money, a low social rank, a reputation for being no good, and an early death. What it considers misfortune is bodily discomfort, a neighbor no chance to get you filled, good food, and having clothes to wear, having a way to amuse or light the eye, pleasant music to listen to. If people find that they are deprived of these things, they go into a panic or fall into despair. They are so concerned for their life that their anxiety makes life unbearable. Even when they have the things they think they want, the very concern for enjoyment makes them unhappy. The rich make life intolerable, driving themselves in order to get more and more money which they cannot really use. In so doing, they are alienated from themselves and exhaust themselves in their own service as though they were slaves of others. The ambitious run day and night in pursuit of honors, constantly in anguish about the success of their plans, dreading the miscalculation that may wreck everything. Thus they are alienated from themselves, exhausting the real life in service of the shadow created by their insatiable hope. The birth of a man is the birth of his sorrow. The longer he lives, the more stupid he becomes, because his anxiety to avoid unavoidable death becomes more and more acute. What bitterness! He lives for what is always out of reach. His thirst for survival in the future makes him incapable of living in the present. What about the self-sacrificing officials and scholars? They are honored by the world because they are good, upright, self-sacrificing men, yet their good character does not preserve them from unhappiness, now even from ruin, disgrace, and death. I wonder, in that case, if their goodness is really so good after all. It is perhaps a source of unhappiness. Suppose you admit they are happy, but is it a happy thing to have a character and a career that led to one's own eventual destruction? On the other hand, can you call them unhappy, if in sacrificing themselves they save the lives and fortunes of others? Take the case of the minister who conscientiously and uprightly opposes an unjust decision of his king. Some say tell the truth, and if the king will not listen, let him do what he likes. You have no further obligation. On the other hand, Zhu Shu continued to resist the unjust policy of his sovereign. He was consequently destroyed, but if he had not stood up for what he believed to be right, his name would not be held in honor. So there is the question, shall the course he took be called good, if at the same time it was fatal to him? I cannot tell if what the world considers happiness is happiness or not. All I know is that when I consider the way they go about attaining it, I see them carried away headlong, grim and obsessed in the general onrush of human herd, unable to stop themselves or to change their direction, all the while they claim to be just on the point of attaining happiness. For my part, I cannot accept their standards, whether of happiness or unhappiness. I ask myself if, after all, the concept of happiness has any meaning whatever. My opinion is that you never find happiness until you stop looking for it. My greatest happiness consists precisely in doing nothing whatever that is calculated to obtain happiness, and this is in the minds of most people is the worst possible course. I will hold to the saying that perfect joy is to be without joy. Perfect praise is to be without praise. If you ask what ought to be done and what ought not to be done on earth in order to produce happiness, I answer that these questions do not have an answer. There is no way of determining such things. Yet at the same time, if I cease striving for happiness, the right and the wrong at once become apparent all by themselves. Contentment and well-being at once become impossible the moment you cease to act with them in view, and if you practice non-doing, why? You will have both happiness and well-being. Here is how I sum it up. Heaven does nothing. Its non-doing is its serenity. Earth does nothing. Its non-doing is its rest. From the union of these two non-doings, all actions proceed, all things are made. How vast, how invisible this coming to be. All things come from nowhere. How vast, how invisible, no way to explain it. All beings in their perfection are born of non-doing, hence it is said, heaven and earth do nothing, yet there is nothing they do not do. Where is the man who can attain to this non-doing? Alright, we're going to end it there on page 102. Next chapter is Symphony for a Seabird. This is The Way of Chuang-Tzu by Thomas Merton. Thanks for visiting philosophyvideo.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube at philosophyvideos.com. Like us on Twitter, share this video, like our Facebook page, and please comment if you enjoyed this reading from The Way of Chuang-Tzu by Thomas Merton. Again, this is philosophyvideos.com.
You can also customize your coverage to protect the stuff you love. And prices start as low as $5 a month. It's about
the miscellaneous chapters.
If you have assumed a character beyond your strength, you have played a poor figure in that, and neglected one that is within your powers. Fellow, you have come to blows at home with a slave. You have turned the household upside down and thrown the neighborhood into confusion. Do you come to me then with airs of assumed modesty? Do you sit down like a sage and criticize my explanation of the readings, and whatever idle babble you say has come into my head? Have you come full of envy and dejected because nothing is sent you from home, and while the discussion is going on, do you sit brooding on nothing but how your father or your brother are disposed towards you? What are they saying about me here? About me there? At this moment they imagine I am making progress and saying he will return perfectly omniscient. I wish I could become omniscient before I return, but that would be very troublesome. No one sends me anything. The baths at Nicopolis are dirty. Things are wretched at home and wretched here. Then they say nobody is any the better for the school. Who comes to the school with a sincere wish to learn, to submit his principles to correction and himself to treatment? Who, to gain a sense of his wants? Why then be surprised if you carry home from the school exactly what you bring into it? Epictetus, I have often come desiring to hear you speak, and you have never given me any answer. Now, if possible, I entreat you, say something to me. Is there, do you think, replied Epictetus, an art of speaking as of other things? If it is to be done skillfully and with profit to the hearer, yes. And are all profited by what they hear, or only some among them? So that it seems there is an art of hearing as well as of speaking. To make a statue needs skill, to view a statue aright needs skill also, admitted. And I think all will allow that one who proposes to hear philosophers speak needs a considerable training in hearing. Is that not so? Then tell me, on what subject are you able to hear me? Why on good and evil? The good and evil of what? A horse, an ox? No, of a man. Do we know then what man is? What his nature is? That is the idea we have of him. And are our ears practiced in any degree on the subject? Nay, do you understand what nature is? Can you follow me in any degree when I say that I shall have to use demonstration? Do you understand what demonstration is? What true or false is? Must I drive you to philosophy? Show me what good I am to do by discoursing with you. Rouse my desire to do so. The sight of the pasture it loves stirs in the sheep the desire to feed. Show it a stone or a bit of bread and it remains unmoved. Thus we must also have certain natural desires, and one that moves us to speak when we find a listener that is worth his salt, one that himself stirs the spirit. But if he sits by like a stone or a tuft of grass, how can he rouse a man's desire? Then you will say nothing to me.
At this moment, 99% of people would start sweating and panic. But thanks to this app, all you have to do is clap, and your phone will ring to end your misery. Download it now while it's...
You rouse a man's desire, then you will say nothing to me. I can only tell you this, that one who knows not who he is and to what end he was born, what kind of world this is, and with whom he is associated therein, one who cannot distinguish good and evil, beauty and foulness, truth and falsehood, will never follow reason in shaping his desires and impulses, and repulsions, nor yet innocent denial or suspension of judgment, but will in one word go about deaf and blind, thinking himself to be somewhat, and then he is in truth of no account. Is there anything new in all this? Is not this ignorance the cause of all the mistakes and mischances of men since the human race began? This is all I have to say to you, and even this against the grain. Why? Because you have not stirred my spirit, for what can I see in you to stir me? As a spirited horse will stir a judge of horses? Your body that you maltreat, your dress that is luxurious, your behavior, your look, nothing whatever. When you want to hear a philosopher, do not say you say nothing to me, only show yourself worthy or fit to hear, and then you will see how you will move the speaker. And now, when you see brothers apparently good friends and living in accord, do not immediately pronounce anything upon their friendship, though they should affirm it with an oath, though they should declare for us to live apart is a thing impossible. For the heart of a bad man is faithless, unprincipled, inconstant. Now overpowered by one impression, now by another. Ask not the usual questions. Were they born of the same parents, reared together and under the same tutor? But ask this only, in what they place their real interest, whether in outward things or in the will. If in outward things, call them not friends, any more than faithful, constant, brave, or free. Call them not even human beings if you have any sense. But should you hear that these men hold the good to lie only in the will, only in rightly dealing with the things of sense, take no more trouble to inquire whether they are father and son or brothers or comrades of long standing, but should of this one thing pronounce as boldly that they are friends as that they are faithful and just. For where else can friendship be found than where modesty is, where there is an interchange of things fair and honest, and of such only? No man can rob us of our will, no man can lord it over that. When disease and death overtake me, I would fain be found engaged in the task of liberating mine own will from the assaults of passion, from hindrance, from resentment, from slavery. Thus would I fain be found employed, so that I may say to God, have I in aught transgressed thy commands? Have I in aught perverted the faculties, the senses, the natural principles that thou didst give me? Have I ever blamed thee or found fault with thine administration? When it was thy good pleasure, I fell sick, and so did other men, but my will consented. Because it was thy pleasure, I became poor, but my heart rejoiced. No power in the state was mine, because thou wouldst not such power I never desired. Hast thou ever seen me of more doleful countenance? On that account have I not ever drawn nigh unto thee with cheerful look, waiting upon thy commands, attentive to thy signals. Would thou that I now depart from the great assembly of men? I go, I give thee all thanks that thou hast deemed me worthy to take part with thee in this assembly, to behold thy works, to comprehend this thine administration. Such I were the subject of my thoughts, my pen, my study, when death overtakes me. Seemeth it nothing to you, never to accuse, never to blame, either good or man, to wear ever the same countenance in going forth as in coming in? This was the secret of Socrates, yet he never said that he knew or taught anything. Who amongst you makes this his aim? Were it indeed so, you would gladly endure sickness, hunger, aye, death itself. How are we constituted by nature, to be free, to be noble, to be modest? For what other living thing is capable of blushing or of feeling the impression of shame, and to subordinate pleasure to the ends for which nature designed us, as a handmaid and a minister, in order to call forth our activity, in order to keep us constant to the path prescribed by nature? The husband deals with land, physicians and trainers with the body, the wise man with his own mind. Which of us does not admire what Lycurgus the Spartan did? The young citizen had put out his eye and been handed over to him by the people to be punished as his own discretion. Lycurgus abstained from all vengeance, but on the contrary instructed him and made a good man of him. Producing him in the public, in the theatre, he said to the astonished Spartans, I received this young man at your hands full of violence and wanton insolence. I restore him to you in his right mind and fit to serve his country. A money changer may not reject Caesar's coin, nor may the seller of herbs, but must, when once the coin is shown, deliver what is sold for it, whether he will or no. So is it also with the soul. Once the good appears, it attracts towards itself, evil repels. But a clear and certain impression of the good the soul will never reject any more than men do Caesar's coin, and this hangs every impulse alike of man and God. As to what common sense, as Epictetus replied, as that may be called a common ear which distinguishes only sounds, while that which distinguishes musical notes is not common, but produced by training. So there are certain things which men not entirely perverted see by the natural principle common to all. Such a constitution of the mind is called common sense. Canst thou judge men? Then make us imitators of thyself, as Socrates did. Do this, do not do that, else will I cast thee into prison. This is not governing men like reasonable creatures. Say rather, as God hath ordained, so do, else thou wilt suffer chastisement and loss. Askest thou what loss? None other than this, to have left undone what thou shouldst have done, to have lost the faithfulness, the reverence, the modesty that is in thee. Greater loss than this seek not to find. His son is dead. What has happened? His son is dead. Nothing more, nothing. His ship is lost. What has happened? His ship is lost. He has been haled to prison. What has happened? He has been haled to prison. But that any of these things are misfortunes to him is an addition which everyone makes of his own. But you say God is unjust in this way. Why? For having given thee endurance and greatness of soul, for having made such things to be no evils, for placing happiness within thy reach even when enduring them, for opening unto thee a door when things make not for thy good. Depart, my friend, and find no fault. You are sailing to Rome, and you tell me to obtain the post of governor of Gnosus. You are not content to stay at home with the honors you had before. You want something on a larger scale and more conspicuous. But when did you ever undertake a voyage for the purpose of reviewing your own principles and getting rid of any of them that proved unsound? Whom did you ever visit for that object? What time did you ever set yourself for that? What age run over the times of your life by yourself if you are ashamed before me? Did you examine your principles when a boy? Did you not do everything just as you do now? Or when you were a stripling, attending the school of oratory and practicing the art yourself, what did you ever imagine you lacked? And when you were a young man and turned upon public life and were pleading causes and making a name, who any longer seemed equal to you? And at what moment would you have endured another examining your principles and proving that they were unsound? What then am I to say to you, help me in this matter? You cry, ah! For that I have no rule, and neither did you, if that was your object, come to me as a philosopher, but as you might have gone to an herb saddler or a cobbler. What do philosophers have rules for then? Why, that whatever may be tied, our ruling faculty may be as nature would have it, and so remain. Think you this a small matter? Not so, but the greatest thing there is. Well, does it need but a short time? Can it be grasped by a passer-by? Grasp it, if you can. Then you will say, yes, I met Epictetus. Aye, just as you might a statue or a monument, you saw me. That is all. But imagine